So, this one's going to be again about super thinking, and this might also be the last episode. It depends on how fast we're going to be today. And afterwards, you're going to go through either some Reddit questions or some core questions or some funny pictures, I guess, and or maybe I'm just able to come up with something to talk about. But yeah, more after the intro, as always. With that being said, hello and welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. And I'm really looking forward to this episode. I'm actually really happy to record this one, which is not always the case. It often is the case, fortunately, but it is not always the case. It just also depends on how hungry I am and just various different factors that might occur. But as I said, we're going to go through super thinking. And by the way, if there is something you need, the link or all the links are down in the description or in the show notes, and there should probably be everything that you're searching for. But if there is something that you're searching for and isn't in the description, whether it be actually a link to some article that I went through and forgot about just putting it into the description, just please hit me up on social media, either, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok as well, but not Facebook, please. You could also just write me an email, but I would rather prefer Instagram or something else, just because also for you're gonna just get your reply relatively quickly, compared to email, because I of course see my emails and I'm also checking my emails from time to time. But the thing is, I'm not getting too many notifications in terms of emails, but in terms of Instagram and whatnot, I'm always getting my notifications. But yeah, without losing any time, let's go through the text. But I do just see dealing with conflict. No. The past few days we've been able to just come up with or just go through. People are not interchangeable. They come from a variety of backgrounds and with a varied set of personalities, strengths, and goals. To be the best manager, you must manage to the person, accounting for each individual's unique set of characteristics and current challenges. To be the best manager, you must manage to the person. We are not managing the persons or the people, we are managing to the person, or you must manage to the person, which I guess just means that you basically have to do everything so that the person is able to work, which is also one of the reasons why I quite often talk about if you're a leader, then you're basically working for your employees. And it's not vice versa. It's not the other way around, even though a lot of people think it is the case. But if you're a leader and if you're somebody that is if you're a leader and or the CEO of a company or something like that, you do just have to have something to do with HR, with human resources. You're basically only delegating people around or just saying they should be doing some things and you're employing them. And you're basically not really doing a lot of the art, the work itself. It's more about managing, as far as I have seen it, as far as I've recognized it, and also as far as I've also heard it, which is maybe something that's bad, because I assume that a lot of people do just like to do the work, They do just like to be in the engineering thing. They like to be just a design. They like to be whatever, but they're just the CEO of the company. Therefore, they're quite forced to do that. Then, in such a position, it might not be that nice for this particular person. But yeah, craft unique roles that amplify each individual's strengths and motivations. Avoid the Peter principle by promoting people only to roles in which they can succeed. Properly delineate roles and responsibilities using the model of DRI, which is directly responsible individual, accountable for the success of each action item. People need coaching to reach their full potential, especially at new roles. Deliberate practice is the most efficient way or effective way to help people scale new learning curves. Use the consequence conviction matrix, a conviction consequence quadrant, which is high-low, to sort your decisions, to look for learning opportunities, and use radical candor within one-on-one to deliver constructive feedback. One-on-one is something that's so particularly important in my point of view. It is something that I especially recognize when I'm in school, because I'm in a graphic design school, or I'm attending a graphic design school, and it is always the case that often when I'm working on something and I'm not just speaking with my teachers, I'm not just talking to the teachers, that most often I'm gonna get a bad grade, just because I'm doing something, I'm working on my craft, I'm working on this design, and then in the end, there's gonna be something very fundamental and very just basic that they don't like about it. whether it be, for example, the font that I'm using. The problem there is, this is actually something that you could be changing up when you're just talking to your teacher. And it is, I assume, the exact same thing with companies as well, because employees are going to do some things wrong. And if it is something fundamental where everything, whether it is a design, whether it is just something that's about engineering and whatnot, if then the whole project is based on something that you actually do not really like, and you then have to change it up, which means changing up the whole fucking thing, it's not really good. It's not really just great. And I think you can prevent that from happening when you're just having a lot of one-on-one conversations and also a lot of one-on-one feedback. But it should really be constructive feedback. It shouldn't really be like, okay, this looks nice, without an explanation why it looks nice, I guess. There do just have to be a lot of explanations, at least at my point of view. I do really believe that people should just understand why something is good, for example, or why something is bad, for example, or why you don't like something, for example, and so on and so on and so on. So I do think that feedback is important, constant feedback is important, but in both directions. So feedback, which is basically something that Ray Dalio is just really a practitioner of. He's just really trying to get feedback from his employees, but he's also providing feedback. And it should really be honest feedback. If you're kind of noticing that the way your boss is managing you, or the people in general, or the CEO is managing the people and or just certain departments or whatever it is, I think pointing that out is actually very important. It is not really about your success. It is not really about the CEO's success in the end, maybe as well, but it is actually about the success of the whole company, because I assume that if a whole department isn't able to just basically communicate some sort of, then it is actually not good. Then there is just some sort of there's something that's not good going on in the whole company. Therefore, pointing it out and saying to your CEO or boss or whatnot, well, I'm recognizing that the department is a little bit worse than any other department, or maybe something else, maybe something like that. I think it's truly important, to have feedback in both directions. Of course, it should be constructive. It, of course, should be honest. It, of course, shouldn't hurt somebody's feelings on purpose or something. But yeah, when trying new things, watch out for common psychological failure models like imposter syndrome, which is fearing being exposed as a fraud, even though in reality they are not. And the dunning-kruger effect, which is describing the confidence people experiences as they move from being a novice to being an expert. I'm really willing to just talk about that afterwards. Actively define group culture and consistently engage in winning hearts and minds. So communicating directly to people's hearts and minds to win them over. Toward you decide culture and associated vision. If you can set up people for success in the right roles and well-defined culture, then you can create the environment for 10x teams, which has collectively achieved outsized impact to emerge. I'm not quite sure if I should actually go through the 9th one as well, or if I should actually be going through the dunning-kruger effect, which is actually an effect that I've been listening about or hearing about. So as you can see on the left side, I've decided to not go through the 9th one and just rather go through the 9th one tomorrow and just have it in a little bit more of a, I think, chilled out way, I guess. Because if I kind of force myself to go through the next one and whatnot, then it's not going to be the best experience, at least at my point of view. At least that's how I have seen things in just the past few months and the past year. But as you can see on the left side, there's the dunning-kruger effect. And I'm going to read this article on the Wikipedia site. I'm going to link it down in the description. So if you want to check it out on your own, because I'm probably not going to go through the whole one, then please do so. In the field of psychology, the dunning-kruger effect is a cognitive bias in which people assess their cognitive ability as greater than it is. So I think they assume that they are just better than they actually are. It is related to the cognitive bias of illusory superiority and comes from the inability of people to recognize their lack of ability. Without the self-awareness of metacognition, people cannot objectively evaluate their competence or incompetence. As described by social psychologists David Dunning and Justin Kruger, the cognitive bias of illusory superiority results from an internal illusion in people of low ability and from an external misperception in people of high ability. That is, the miscalibration of the incompetence stems from an error about the self, whereas the whereas the miscalibration of the high competence stems from an error about others. Which means that the dunning-kruger effect is actually going into both directions, as I'm just reading that, but I'm not quite sure. Which means that it is also like in which people assess their cognitive ability as greater than it is. Well, it is actually one way, but if I'm reading the whole one, it just somehow seems to be like both ways, which means that it would also be the dunning-kruger effect if you think that you are worse than you actually are. Just because you can somehow assume, or you do somehow assume, that the other people are better than you are. But if it is about just being better than anybody else, then you kind of assume that any or everyone else is worse than you, and or actually, as they say, that you actually assume that you're better than anybody else. So it's either you're better than anybody else, or all the other people are better than you are. But yeah, really, 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 really interesting, I have to say. But yeah, like the question is, I think I'm gonna go through some funny pictures because they have been working yesterday just really well. And I've seen something, and it's probably gonna be the exact same way as I've done it yesterday. So I'm gonna just have a look at some funny pictures, and then I'm gonna just figure out how this could be having something to do with self-development, self-improvement, improving oneself, and all those things. So as you can see on the left side, or you cannot see because you are on the podcast, it is a test. And the test says, for example, are you paranoid? And then the person writes down, who is that? Question mark. And are you a child? And then there's a box which says yes and no. And the person draws a house into this no box. It is probably something that you've seen before, but I really have to say that, and it is probably something that I've been talking about yesterday as well, but sometimes some things just really don't make any sense. It doesn't necessarily have to be the case that it does make sense for everybody, or for anyone, or for everyone. But often it's the case that some things just don't matter for you, or don't matter to you, and don't make any sense for you, just specifically for you. It is not about anybody else, it is about you now. And I do really have to say that doing something then in a different way is totally fucking fine. If it is just not working for you in this particular way that the person is giving you, or the person is saying that you should be doing it in such a way, but it is really not working for you. Whether it is about learning, whether it is about just doing something, whether it is about, for example, designing something. You know, if I'm designing something and my teacher says, okay, you should be doing this in that way, and that way, and that way, and I kind of feel like, well, I would rather do it in this way just because I'm way faster and way more efficient and it is just working better for me. Why would I then just do it like the teacher told me to? It wouldn't make any sense. It really wouldn't make any sense. So please do things in your way, and also just... It is actually something that I'm always trying to do, to think outside the box. And I honestly have to say that it is, at my point of view at least, in my point of view, it's a very interesting and also important skill to have. You know, when you're able to just think about things in a different perspective. For example, like, I know, just who came up with this? Are you paranoid? Who is that? It is actually something pretty smart and pretty creative at my point of view. And ideas are something that are incredibly important, you know, especially for a lot of companies. Ideas just are going to be the fucking base of an advertising campaign, just structure in a whole company. Just all different kinds of things just really rely on good ideas. The thing is, of course, you also have to execute on them. Like, this is just, the first point is going to be have an idea, have a great idea, and then the next one's going to be executing on it. If you're not executing on it, then it's just not going to work, or it's not going to just lead to something. But if you're not having an idea, then you're just also not really able to work on something or execute on something. This one really made me laugh, to be honest. I do hope that you're able to see it quite fine, or actually not. It's going to load once again. So there is, on the left side of the screen, you're having a tub. I don't know what it's called, like the thing where the water runs out of. You know, in the tub, you're having this kind of thing. And there's basically, most often at least, some sort of rotating mechanism so that you can actually let the water pour out of this certain thing, which I don't know what it is called. The thing is, which is actually pretty funny. Like the first time I've seen it, it was really funny. Now it's like, okay, you know. But he's pouring or the turning mechanism is actually what normally it's called the faucet or faucet, water top water, the tripping tap. I think it's called tap, but I'm not quite sure. I always thought that it is the whole thing, but I'm not quite sure. So they replaced the mechanism that's rotating with the tap itself. So the mechanism that is rotating is basically then where the water comes out of. And it is really funny and it is really cool. And I just noticed that explaining it is just really not funny. But yeah, the thing is, the reason why I've taken this is that it is something that somehow happens to me as well, that I'm having some sort of a really surrealist idea. And surrealism is actually a pretty nice concept, and it's a pretty cool thing to think about. Like, it's basically an art form which combines certain things that do not really somehow are in a relationship within. Like, it completely doesn't make any sense most often. Like, there are two variants of surrealism. I do hope it is called like that. I'm actually not sure. But one of them is you can actually see things, which is, I guess it's the veristic one. It's veristisch in German, so veristic, I guess. I'm not quite sure. But which means that you actually can see things. You know, it is not really abstract. You can say, okay, this is a human being, this is a dog, this is a lion, this is something, and it basically just combines various different ideas and various different things with each other. You know, so therefore you're gonna have a lion, and the lion is having a fish head just out of nowhere, just because. And there's on the other hand also the abstract surrealist or surrealism, which then is gonna be just completely abstract. So absolutely abstract. And you're not gonna be able to see anything. Probably some things, as I've read, you're able to just say, okay, this is a dog, maybe, but I'm not quite sure. But maybe there's going to be one or two elements that you can actually name, but the rest of it is going to be completely nonsense and completely just, unnameable. But the thing is, why I've actually pointed it out, when I'm not sleeping enough, then I'm really actually able to come up with crazy ideas. And I honestly have to say that it might not even be such a bad thing to not sleep, since it actually led me to just coming up with those ideas. And I really honestly believe, even though, or especially just because the surrealists also used drugs and alcohol and other just different states of the mind to just also come up with those ideas. Because how will you actually come up with those fucking crazy ideas rather than with just drugs and whatnot? Of course, you can just be very creative and whatnot, but it just helps to elevate your mind and helps to just also expand your mind. The thing is, if I'm not sleeping, I'm really able to come up with quite a lot of ideas. Crazy ideas, some things that don't really make sense. In the end, it is often really funny, to be honest, especially in school, because I'm just thinking about so strange things actually. But I do not want you to sleep deprive yourself consciously, but maybe it is just a way to elevate your mind, to see things in a different light, to by the way, if you're having depression, it's probably not going to be something that's good, since I've read somewhere, I guess, that when you're sleep deprived, then it's probably not going to be good for your mental health. Like, it's of course has something to do with my mental ability to just connect certain things and whatnot, which is either distorted by not sleeping and or is just, I think it's distorted, but this could either be in a good way and or in a bad way, but I'm not quite sure what it actually is. But yeah, so maybe you try it out, maybe this actually helps you to come up with new ideas and new things, and also automatic writing. Try it out. Maybe this is something that can help you. And now there is some sort of a comic, and it's a Batman comic, and I'm gonna show you. Robin, this is not what I meant. It's not funny. I'm gonna just look at another one. My God, like this is the only problem there, I guess. Either it is, and this is all one of the reasons why I shouldn't go through it while letting it be live, actually, because there's gonna be just a lot of things that I would have to cut out, especially in the last episode from yesterday. There's actually also some things that I forgot about cutting out, but I remembered just before the episode. I found one. It's bananas, and the sign in front of the banana says long yellow things. But yeah, this is basically like, it just reminds me on the episodes. Like, I'm often just naming things in a probably completely wrong way and pronouncing things in a completely wrong way. But you know what? I really don't give a fuck about that, because I still know that I'm maybe able, or hopefully able, to just help somebody with whatever I'm spitting out of my mouth, in terms of words actually. And therefore, like, yeah, I know nobody needs all the vocabularies, and actually just learning a language can be really fast actually. It still depends on how much work you put into it and how much time you put into it, but it could actually be really fast. And this is actually something that a lot of people actually have systemized. Like there is a bunch of people that, are able to speak several languages fluently, and they're having a system. They of course are having a system. And I would actually say that the system is pretty good. I think it's been like probably 2 months ago or something. I've been going through an article on somebody like that, and it wasn't tremendously helpful since it's been, there was some things that were really important, but there's also a TED Talk by Lydia Markova, which is Lydia with Lydia And this is a TED Talk. It is actually a very recent one from 2019. And I guess there must also be an ideas.ted.com article on this particular thing. But they are called polyglots. A polyglot is a person with a command of many languages. A polyglot may also be called something else. Let's see. Multilingual, although the term is used for communities as well as individuals. Richard Hudson, a 1939 professor emeritus of linguistics at University College London, coined the term hyperpolyglot for people who know dozens of languages well. Other scholars apply blah, 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 blah. So these are actually incredible people, because they were able to learn languages in such a high pace actually, and such a lot of languages, Being able to do so, at my point of view, is, at this point in time, it makes sense. At this point in time, it is something that's pretty cool. Maybe you can show off with it if you want to, I guess. I don't know if you actually want to do so, but it's actually something that's pretty cool, yeah. And also pretty useful, I guess. Especially when you're getting hired, then it's probably also going to just be something that's pretty good, if you're able to do so. But on the other hand, I do just really have to say that I don't actually think that it is going to be something that's of value in the future, since we are then going to for sure be able, with 5G and all those things, we're then going to be just able to translate things in real time when we're talking to somebody without a lot of delay. But at this point of time, it of course does make sense, especially I guess Chinese or Mandarin, English, Spanish, maybe French. I wouldn't actually say German, since you're able to speak English in all those German-speaking areas or all those German-speaking countries. I really don't think that there's a need for learning German, even though it might be just, I don't know. Learn Spanish, French, English, Mandarin, maybe Japanese as well, but I don't know how different Japanese is from just Mandarin and or Chinese. Probably going to be quite a bunch of differences, but yeah. So I've seen this one before, but I still kind of feel like that it is funny, since, I don't know, it is just funny. It is a toilet, and there is one layer of your toilet that you're sitting on, that you're actually sitting on when you're just doing your thing, and there's also the other part that is closing up the whole toilet. And they actually kind of change it up, and so therefore the thing that you should be sitting on is on the outside and the other thing is in the inside. Therefore, it's fucked up, basically. The thing is, I think it's I don't know, it must be last week or the week before something. I've seen that the toilet in school was broken. The thing you're closing the toilet with was broken somehow. I don't know why. Something that I just want to point out is doing the right thing and or doing the easy thing. Breaking the whole toilet or breaking this part of the toilet is probably not going to be the right thing. Maybe it is easy, since it's probably going to be fun for just the people that you're around with, and just being I destroyed it. I can assume that it is funny. Not that I would be doing something like that. I'm just actually trying to not do something like that. Just especially if it's about some public shit. I'm really not into breaking those things. But I can assume that it is funny. As I'm just thinking about it, if I'm just using my empathy skills, I can somehow assume that it is funny. But try to just do the right things. Often it is the case that the right things are not going to be the easy things. And often it is the case that the easy things are not going to be the right things. Therefore, there is a just clear distinction between those two things. Sometimes I also have to say that doing the right thing is going to be easy, since you just know that it is the right thing, and also that it is just not a lot of work, Maybe just something like that. Not a lot of people are going to be struggling with not breaking the toilet, I assume, If you're struggling with it, just still don't do it, please. It's just really unnecessary, and there's going to be, think about the other people that are involved in the whole thing. If you're doing something in the toilet, whether it is just making a mess or doing something else, there is just going to be somebody that has to tidy that up again. It's not going to be you probably, but it's going to be somebody else. And just think about those people, they do just want to do their work. Of course, they're going to clean the toilet and whatnot, but that job shouldn't be harder as it is. Think about it as well. Like, thinking about the other people and not only about oneself all the time is also something that I do want to point out, since I believe it is something that's particularly important. Like, we often think about ourselves, but being in a communication, being in a conversation with somebody and thinking and or talking about them is probably going to do a lot of good things to you and to the conversation and to your likability as well. Because if you're talking to somebody about them, they're probably going to like that. They're probably going to like the whole conversation. But the thing is, we human beings are really likely to talk about ourselves and talk about what we have experienced, what we have done, what we have achieved, and all those things. Think about the other person more, talk about the other person more, try to do so. This is actually a concept from How to Win Friends and Influence People, one of the best books I've read up to this point, and I honestly have to say that it is just truly the case. Thinking about other people, doing things for other people or something, just care more, I guess. It is also something else. Care more, it's good. Caring more is good. But with that being said, I'm hopefully going to see you the next time, or hopefully also not, if this is actually something that you kind of need, not only for entertainment purposes and whatnot, something, because I don't know, especially when it is about some episodes, when I'm talking about some things that might be having something to do with mental health things, then I really don't hope that you just need it. Because I don't want you to have some mental health issues, which is kind of the main reason then. But yeah, never mind. You know what I mean. I wish you the best health, of happiness, and also success. And I also hope that you're going to remind yourself when you're going to be remembered, which basically means your legacy, which basically means that you're going to be a nice person, and then you're also going to be remembered as a nice person. On the other hand, this is a theory, basically, because it's practically not going to be just working, just because there are so many people on this planet, and there's just going to be somebody that dislikes you or maybe even hates you. 3 other questions that I'm having for you are: why are you here? What are you trying to change? And what is bothering you the most? These 3 questions are hopefully going to show you your purpose and maybe even a business idea, since a lot of companies started out with solving something that really pissed them off. And there's probably also going to be something that pisses you off and isn't solved up to this point. With that being said, going to see you the next time, and I appreciate the time that you're taking. Thanks a lot. I see you.